Nice. Good evening everyone and welcome back to Revolution Tier 3 Season 13 in its time for round 11 of the season, and we arrive at the Losail International Circuit in Qatar to resume this very interesting Tier 3 season. Only 5 races remain, including this one, and I wouldn't say the championship fight is heating up, at least not on the driver's side, because Alpha High Ball still leads now by 40 points over Harry and 59 over Jesus, so already that close in the Drivers' Championship. But in the Constructors it very much is, even though Sauber built up a little bit of a lead after last week. Now 24 points over Alpine and 29 towards Haas, and then Williams, Vicar, McLaren, Aston Martin all in relative close contention as well in the Constructors. But we go into this round with Alpha High Ball as our championship leader, as he has been over for the majority of the season. But 18 minutes of qualifying around the Qatar circuit, which is a very high-speed circuit. So like 95% of the track is high to low speed corners, or high to medium speed corners, and then barely any low speed. So lap times will be quick around here. Tire wear is going to be high as well in the race, but we have got qualifying right now. We ride on board with Bella Bouton in the Aston Martin, who last week took his second pole position of the season at Spa, the other one at Silverstone. So let's see if he maybe can go for his third one as we move towards the second sector. You have to be really careful with track limits around the track like this, because in basically every single corner you can run out just a little bit too wide and you pick up a warning or an invalidation. But he has kept it within the white line so far, so looking like a decent lap. Everyone else out on track apart from Jesus, Alpha High Ball and Arbon still in pit lane. 17 drivers tonight, so not a full grid unfortunately. So Harry sets the fastest lap time, and a 21.5 is going to be the lap time to beat at the beginning of this session. Aaron joins him on that front row with a 21.6, not too far off. Lenz is going to start his flying lap. Then it's Nexus who has invalidated. Nexus drove Tier 1 yesterday, which wasn't that much of an entertaining race. As Michael goes P3, 22.0, Dark Assassin 22.3, and Balabotom only a 21.8, and at the moment is 3/10 off Harry in the Kick Sauber, who picked up a podium last week at Belgium. He was in the fight for the race win all race long, but unfortunately a 3-second time penalty meant he could only finish in P3, where he finished on track as well. And Mahmoudev was a surprise winner. He picked up his first podium 2 weeks prior at the Silverstone Grand Prix, got his second place there behind Barney, who has been promoted to Tier 2, but last week he got his first ever win in Revolution, and he's going into this round as a race winner, still a reserve driver, this time in the Red Bull, so hopefully he can score some good points for the team as well, driving alongside Arbon. Kai on his return in the Mercedes full-time seat. He was full-time driver for V-Carb earlier on, but now he has returned after a few weeks off and is at Mercedes. He set a 21.7. He is one of the drivers that drove as well yesterday in Tier 1, so it's going to be interesting to see what he can do on his week return. He got a podium finish last week as well, second place alongside Mahmoudev and Harry. Shark in the meantime in the other Mercedes, he's gone up to second place with a 21.6, but at the moment nobody's able to beat Harry's lap time of a 21.5. Twisteri has backed off on his laps, and so has Blitz Hyper in the Williams, cutting across the inside, making his way towards the pit lane. As Mahmoudev, he has invalidated. Let's see what his lap time could have been, although I doubt he pushed on. As he now starts another flying lap potentially. I'm not sure if he's got the battery. No, he hasn't, so it's not going to be a represented lap time for Mahmoudev. But we know he's got the pace around here. Froby in the McLaren. He's gone up to P8. His teammate Lennon's in P5. Has had a string of bad luck and bad results over the last weeks. If we look at those results, last week in Belgium, he retired from the main race. And in the sprint race, he was in P7, so he picked up 2 points there. Then at the Silverstone reverse track, he finished in P9. And the race before that, the normal layout, he finished in P12. And P9 before that. And then got his podium at Austria, but after Austria it's gone quite downhill for Lennons, unfortunately. But let's hope he can pick up the pace again and be competitive like he was at the beginning of the season. Modev, he has gone for another lap, but not a lap time that will be anywhere near the times we've seen so far, as he's going back into the pit lane. Toursteri now does finally set a lap time, a 22.2, just behind his teammate, but 7/10 of provisional pole position right now. As we wait to see and find out what Arbon and Wardy can do, both starting their flying laps. The Red Bull and the RB. He makes his way through turns 3 and 4, and now to these two very quick right-handers, where it's very easy to invalidate either the inside or the outside. Now into what is the slowest corner on this track, and then accelerating outwards to a long right-hander, but then it tightens up at the exit as it goes to the left slightly again, and then a flat-out kink to the right. And then it's a braking zone of another long left-hander where you have to maximize the exit, because you will go flat out for quite a long time after this. Into the triple right-hander. Should all be flat out. So I think he has backed off on this lap. But what can Wardy do right behind? The left-hander could be flat out as well in qualifying, with a little bit of a downshift. But it does work now into the final corner. And let's see where this lap time is going to bring Wardy, as he is going to cross the line for a 21.7. Puts him on the second row, in between Aaron and Kai, his former teammate at RB. Shark on another lap, and he's improving by over 1/10 of a second through the first sector, which would be enough to secure him provisional pole position, and which I think would be his first ever pole position in Revolution. He's gotten quite close over the last few weeks. I feel like he's been strong in qualifying, but never quite strong enough to put his Mercedes on pole position. But maybe tonight could be the night where he can change that and get his first ever pole position, I believe, in Tier 3 at least. Going towards the final corner, Balabotan, he's gone quickest with a 21.288. Alpha High Ball onto the front row as well. And what about Shark as he crosses the line, 21.3, and he puts it on the front row within 1/10 of a second of Balabotan, as Panda has joined the session to make it 18 drivers on this grid tonight. Blitzhyper in the Williams, his first lap time puts him into P10 with a very high 21. And then we look at his teammate Jesus, the two-time world champion, currently set P3 in the championship, but quite far off the championship lead, which is still held by Alpha High Wall. Towards the line, and it's going to be P12 for the Williams. What about Nexus in the Kick Sauber? Did he get some good practice in yesterday in Tier 1? We're about to find out. P12, just ahead of Jesus, but not inside the top 10 for now. And that leaves only the two Red Bull drivers to set a lap time. Mahmudev, he has just started his flying lap. Arbon is out on track as well on an out lap. So he makes his way into the second sector, 30.1 in the first split. Is that comparable to the top times we've seen? Now in towards turns 10 and 11. And up ahead is a Mercedes. Hopefully he's going to get out of the way in time, and he does. And now flat out towards turns 12, 13 and 14. And he's kept it within white lines. Now turn 15 should be flat out as well. I think it was a slight lift for Mahmoudev, but now going towards the final corner. A little bit of a slide on entry and on exit as well. But is it going to be quick enough? He crossed the line for 21.6. And that puts him in P5, just behind Harry and just ahead of Aaron. Harry going back into the pit lane. As Kai starts his flying lap, I think. And Lennons is there as well. Arbon in P18. Making his way through the middle sector. Out of turn 11. Let's see how he is going to manage this time through the triple right-hander, where he backed off on his previous attempt. Flat out through turn 15. Very nice there on exit with the curb and the white line. Now just one corner remains. And it looks to be a very tidy final sector indeed. Arbon is going to cross the line for a 21.5. And it puts him right ahead of his teammate. And right behind Harry. So a good first lap for Arbon. And Red Bull are in a competitive position. For, well, it feels like the first time this season. In Tier 3 at least. Kai was improving, but unfortunately he has invalidated. He was up by over 1.5 tenths. Through the middle sector, he's going back into the pit lane though. And so has Wardy, he's invalidated as well. Although he was down on his time through the first sector to Sterry. He's done the same thing. So nobody else there out on track right now to improve their time. 4.5 minutes to go in this qualifying session. And the entire grid, apart from Dark Assassin, is within 1 second of each other. And Panda, of course, who still has the lap time. I think he's only going to have one attempt with only 4 minutes to go. So for him it's going to be a 1 lap shootout. Michael and Froby going out quite early. Maybe I've put a little bit more fuel in the tank to potentially be able to go for 2 laps if they make a mistake on the first one. So they at least have the time to do so. And then don't restrict yourselves to just 1 flying lap at the end. Harry going out as well in the kick Sauber. I think he didn't improve on his second lap. But look how close the top 4 is though. Just over a tenth separating them. Madabout, Shark, Alpha Highball and Harry. These 4, it feels like these 4 have always been at the front in qualifying over the past few weeks. And Mahmoudev has scored, of course, as well on the last 3 weeks. And he sits down in P6 right now. And Froby, he's going to be the first one to start potentially his final flying lap in the McLaren. As right behind, looks like Michael is going for 2 warm-up laps. Still aggressively weaving across the start-finish straight to get some temperature into the tires. Froby now makes his way through turn 3 and now 4 and 5. He cuts across the inside curve there, but it doesn't invalidate, as he knows the track limits very well. Still says he's on an outlap, but I don't think he is. He definitely isn't. He's deploying the battery, so it seems like a visual glitch in the game right now. I have to try and ignore that. You can't see how much he's going to be improving though. That's unfortunate. But it does seem to work for the others. But Froby now towards the triple right-hander. Let's hope he's up by at least a tenth or 2 through the middle sector. and could potentially put himself in the position of around his teammate. Would be a very good qualifying performance for Robbie, who was in contention for a podium finish potentially at the Austrian Grand Prix. But when it started to rain, he put on the slicks, I think, which dropped him all the way down the order. But Robbie, he is crossing the line, and it was an improvement, but it doesn't change his position. What about Harry? 1/10 up through the middle sector in the kick Sauber. At the moment it's not going to be enough for him to secure pole position, but if he finds just a few hundredths of a second in the final sector, he could challenge Balabauton for the first row. Out of the final corner becomes the kick Sauber, and is Harry going to be able to beat the time of Balabauton? No, he isn't, and he misses out by 66 thousandths of a second with a 21.3, and at the moment Balabauton's time is still good enough to put him on personal pole position. He's not improving through the first sector. As next across the line is... not too sure actually. Those drivers out on their flying laps. Preparing for their final runs. Nexus has started the final. He's cutting across the inside there, but he hasn't invalidated somehow. Is he still improving though? That's the question, because he must have backed off to prevent a invalidation. Dark Assassin, he's gone up to P6 in the Ferrari. Nexus is not improving, still down in P16 for someone who participated in the Tier 1 yesterday. Not looking too good right now. Michael is retired from the session. He will start only P15 at best. As there is an Haas in the way there for Nexus. I think that must have been Michael retiring. As Nexus crosses the line, he does improve his time in the end, but only P15 for the kickstart. What about Mahmudev? He crosses the line and he moves up to P5. Look how close it is between the top 5. It's incredible. Alpha Hype Wall then. Can he beat Balabauton for pole position? Yes, he can. 21.024. And he absolutely beats Balabauton by 2.5 tenths of a second. Brilliant lap for our championship leader. Wardy goes up to P6. And then we wait for everyone else to cross the line. Jesus goes up to P13 only. Lennons stays in P10 despite improving by a few hundreds. Blitz Hyper up to P9 inside the top 10. Shark goes to the front row but misses out by 1.5 tenths. What about his teammate Kai? What can he do? Only P7. As Twoosh Derry down in P15. Dark Assassin will not improve. What about Arbon? He is going to cross the line and stay in P8. And I think after Froby crossed the line, and we wait for Panda, who is the final one to cross the line. As is that Aaron moving up the order. P5 for the Aston Martin. Great qualifying lap from him as well. What can Panda do in the Alpine for his one and only lap? He is going to start down in P18 at the back of the grid, but it's pole position for our championship leader. Alpha Hype Wall picks up another point in the championship fight with a brilliant lap at the end of the session. Superb performance. As looks like I'm not going to be able to see the final results. I'll put them back then. So Alpha Highball is going to be starting from pole position alongside Shark in the Mercedes, who once again misses out on pole position. Oh. But Balabauton in P3 could pick up his third pole position of the season. Harry in P4 once again in the fight for the race win or podium. Aaron in P5 in the Aston Martin. Mahmudev in P6 just ahead of Wardy and Kai 7 and 8. Arbon in P9 and Dark Assassin in P10. And then it's Blitz Hyper in P11. And the two McLarens of Lennons and Froby 12 and 13. And then the other Williams of Jesus in P14. Sterry 15, Nexus P16 and Michael on P17, which means that the entire grid was within 1 second in the end. Although it depends on what lap time Panda set in the Alpine. But very close stuff between all the drivers in qualifying. But now we prepare ourselves for the race. And we can start to think about strategy. Because in theory, it is a one-stop. And that's also the strategy you want to go for. Because the pit lane is quite long around here. And you lose a lot of time with making a second stop. So if you can go for the one-stop, you should go for it. But it does require some tire management in both of your stints. Well, depends on how long you can stretch your first stint. If you can make it to lap 12 on those mediums, then it should be good on the hards for the second stint. But if you have to pit earlier, then you will have to manage the tires on the hards in the second stint. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of these drivers having to go for a two-stop, simply because the tire wear is so significantly high around here. But I don't expect to see any soft runners, because those tires just don't last. Maybe in case of a very late safety car, even though a safety car is hardly unlikely around here, with wells so far from the track. But you never know. Last season in Tier 1, someone spun in front of me on the opening lap, and I got collected, spun around, and someone hit me from the side, knocked my front left wheel off. So it still can happen, accidents can still happen. So safety car is always around the corner. You have to always keep it in mind during the race. But is Alpha Hypol going to be able to go for his third win of the season and extend his championship lead over Harry? Or is there anything the Kickstarter driver can do to close back that lead in the championship? And what about Balaboton? He's been on a great run over the last few races. Still hasn't picked up a win or a podium, even though he won the sprint race at Spa. He hasn't won or gotten onto the podium yet in a main race. So not yet another opportunity for him to do that. And same for Shark as well. He had a very unfortunate Belgian Grand Prix where he was running in a very top 5 position, I think, and maybe even in contention for the podium. But then his pedals just completely stopped working, and he dropped all the way back towards the back of the grid. And in the end, he did finish in P12, so he only got 1 point. But let's hope he has some better luck tonight. But here we go then. The 5 red lights will go on for the Qatar Grand Prix. Alpha Hypol leads the way as the lights are out. And it's an excellent start for the Alpine. And Shark already has the slot in behind. And Balaboton as well. He switches to the inside going into turn 1. Once again, Alpha Hypol. Oh, contact there. Balaboton hits the back of Alpha Hypol. He was optimistic on the brakes, just like he was last week at Spa. But this time, he does pay the price and drops all the way back down to P18. And the Aston Martin driver has to charge his way back up the orders. Blitz Hyper going wheel to wheel with Wardy up ahead. Jesus and Frobby going side by side as well through turn 4. And Jesus already finding himself inside the top 10. Starting on the hard compound tire. And we go wheel to wheel up ahead with Lennons and Dark Assassin. And McLaren on the inside. On the outside is the Ferrari. But Lennons up into P8 just behind Arbon, Kai and Mahmoudev in P5. But at the front, things have remained relatively unchanged, apart from Balaboton dropping out. And it's Alpha Hypol leading the way, ahead of Shark, Harry and Arbon in P4. In the background, Twosteri and Blitz Hyper swapping position. Twosteri having to come from the back of the grid as well. Now it's almost going wheel to wheel with Blitz Hyper through these triple right-handers. Always very tricky to do that. Nexus fighting his way past up ahead. There was Panda going really wide there through turns 14, I think. He started down in P18, already made up 5 places though. So great start from the Alpine, just like his teammate who leads the way by 0.5 of a second going on to the second lap. DRS has been enabled, and Harry already starting to drop out as we go in towards turn 1. Dark Assassin and Jesus is fighting out. The Ferrari stays ahead of the Williams. who is on the hards, just like Terry and Harry. Everyone else has started on the mediums. Contact between Badabouton and Nexus, and the Aston Martin driver is looking to find his way past around the outside there of the kicks out, bit of contact. So Nexus keeps his nose in on the inside. As that is Blitz Hyper running quite wide in the background, with Badabouton back up into P15. So he's gained 3 places since the opening lap. But he also has got himself a 3-second time penalty already. Harry on the hards, dropping off. 1.4 is the gap between himself and Shark and Alpha Hive Wall. And he's going to have the Aston Martin of Aaron for company. Also in this train, Mahmoudev, Kai, Arbon, Lennons and everyone else, all the way down to Michael in P18. It's a very long DRS train. 7/10 is the gap between Alpha Hive Wall and Shark, going on to the start-finish straight. Yet another fastest lap for the Alpine, as Harry going completely to the inside of the track. But is it going to allow Aaron to potentially have a go at the Kicksauber going in towards turn 1? Round the outside he will go, but he runs slightly too deep. And Harry remains in his P3 position. Right behind him, Mahmoudev and Kai close to each other as well. The Mercedes driver looking to find a way past the Red Bull. But it's difficult to overtake, but he's going to try and go up the inside regardless to turn 4, very close between the two. Mahmoudev forced slightly wide there, but Kai does make it work, and he's up at the P5. Mahmoudev down to P6, just ahead of his teammate in P7. And Lennon's looking to find a way past Arbon into the braking zone of turn 7. Overtaking around there is quite difficult apart from the start-finish straight, but when you're in a DRS train like this, it is going to be exceptionally difficult to try and find a way past. In the meantime, Aaron is dropped out of DRS range towards Harry. So Harry finding some pace on the hards, and Aaron seems to be struggling right now at this stage. The gap's 1.2 going towards the final corner. Good news for Harry, who can now try and set his sights on the top 2. Kai is going to have the DRS, the slipstream, the ERS. And he is closing the gap, pulls to the inside, and the Mercedes driver is up into P4. Meanwhile, Aaron is still trying to hold it around the outside, but eventually he runs out of road. And he has to settle for P5. Another 3-second time penalty for Badabouton. Jesus, just about holding on to that DRS train. He knows he will be struggling earlier on when he is on the harder tire. It takes a few laps to get any temperature into them. And also the mediums will be quicker in the opening few laps, but they will eventually wear out after 6, 7, 8 laps. And then it's going to be about managing them towards the first pit stop, or the only pit stop. Shark still following Alpha Hive Wall by 7/10 of a second. Harry 2.5 seconds behind. Kai desperately trying to get within DRS range, but he has just missed out. But Aaron behind, I think he's missed out on the DRS as well towards the Mercedes. We're about to find out if he can open the rear wing. No, he cannot, and that is going to allow Mahmoudev to potentially have a go on the start-finish straight. Pulls to the inside, and Mahmoudev is up at the P5. And Aaron drops down another position, down to P6. Three seconds now between Harry and Shark. Arbon looking to find a way past the Aston Martin, who has been dropping off ever since the opening lap. But in the middle sector, it is really difficult to find a way past unless the car ahead of you makes a mistake. At the moment, he just has to wait for the start-finish straight to potentially go for the move. Up ahead, Mahmoudev going quite wide out of turns 7 and 8. And as long as Arman is still within DRS range, he has nothing to worry about on the start-finish straight. Harry trying to maintain the gap towards Shark and Alpha Highball, knowing he will get the advantage later on. And Kai is now definitely within DRS range, and will be looking to find a way past the Kicksauber. As we go on to lap 6. Does Kai have enough straight line speed to go for the move? He is closing in, closing in, closing in. Harry, is he going to defend? Slide it to the inside. Kai is going to go long around the outside though, in towards turn 1. And still we go wheel to wheel. Harry on the exit gives just enough space to the Mercedes, who's going to have the inside line for the next turn. And Kai now does get the position on the exit. Harry still has his nose in, but he's got nothing to defend. Now he's going to switch to the inside, going towards turn 4. Don't really want to go wheel to wheel through here, but still they're going to try and make it work. Kai giving the space to the Kicksauber, who now is back up into P3, and now Kai is going to try and switch to the outside for the next corner, but still Harry is able to maintain his position. But because of all this fighting, they've lost out a full second towards Shark, as Balabotan, he's spun out and he's retired on track, and he's become our first retirement, so far from ideal, and a terrible day for Balabotan. He spun around on the opening lap going in towards turn 1, and it has been going downhill from then ever since. The same can't be said about Alpha Highball and Shark, who now got a 4.2 second lead over the massive DRS train behind Harry. Although Kai is starting to drop off as well, as Arbon is going to get long around the outside of Aaron into the final corner, and now he finds himself in P6, whilst his teammate is going to try and find a way past Kai, who does not have the DRS. And here comes Mahmudev up the inside going into turn 1, and the Red Bull driver is up at the P4. Balabotan is the best, well, unfortunately not tonight, as he is our first retirement. He certainly was the best last week though, at least in the sprint race and in qualifying. As Harry picks up a 3-second time penalty, just like he did last week. It is a sight you very commonly see in Tier 3. So Harry always seems to find his way to get a 3-second time penalty, and this might cost him at the end of the race. And also in his pursuit of Shark and Alpha Highball later on. He also got Mahmudev for company close behind 0.3 of a second. But with the dirty air, we're struggling to take these corners flat out. And the gap grows towards 6-7 tenths. Shark still very close to the back of the Alpine, but choosing not to overtake. What about Mahmudev though? Look at the closing speed. He's going to try and go long around the outside, and barely enough space between himself, between Harry and the track there, but Mahmudev is going to go long around the outside. And now he is up in a podium position and into clean air. But these stars will not last very long. We're on lap 8. Pit window is around lap 11 or 12. Or maybe even 10. So Harry should have star advantage at this stage. Shark and Alpha Highball, 5 seconds is the lead they've got over Mahmudev, and still extending every single lap, because they can work together. Well, I say work together, but it's just Shark chasing Alpha Highball every single lap, similar to what I did yesterday in Tier 1, but it was me chasing another Alpine in fact, but it was Nardo, and I was within the arrest range of him for the entirety of the race, as Aaron picks up a 3-second time penalty to become the second man to do so, or third if you ignore with Balabotan, but he has retired already in this race. Harry getting closer, but not close enough to re-overtake, whilst his teammate Nexus is dropping back. He's down to P17 and running in last place right now. Not a great evening for the other Kicksauber. .7, I would have started to gain some time on Shark and Alpha Eyeball, but obviously down the start-finish straight he will lose a few tenths of a second due to Shark having to DRS. When will we see the first pit stops? Who is going to be able to manage their tire the longest? The longer you can go on this first stint, the easier it will be on the second one. As Harry is now definitely within striking distance of Mahmoudev. As Kai is the first one to go into the pit lane, going on to lap 10, and Dark Assassin following him in the Ferrari, so it's quite early for both of these drivers. And it will be quite a challenge to make it to the end on those hards. Because they have only done 9 laps on the mediums. And generally you want to go until lap 11 or 12. So we'll see at the end of the race if they're going to have to do some massive tire saving or potentially have to make a second stop at some stage. Twisteri and Panda fighting it out in towards turn 6. But Twisteri unable to find his way past now on the exit with the switchback. He's going to go to the inside of a corner where you normally don't see an overtake, but he is going to pull it off as they both run out quite wide coming out of turn 9. But it's a good move from Twisteri. Now up into P11. He is on the hards, so he should have the tire advantage at this stage. And he is showing that. What about Harry? As top 2 dive into the pit lane, and so does Harry on the hards. He definitely is going for the 2-stop. Shark and Alpha Eyeball from the lead, putting on a brand new set of hards. As Shark emerges just behind Alpha Eyeball, very close to the back. And even inside the Alpine for a brief moment. But so Wardy, Lennon, Splits, Hyper all pulling into the pit lane as well. We're going to look at Kai in the background. Let's see where he's going to come out compared to those who have just pitted. Alpha Ball and Shark still coming out ahead of the other Mercedes. But Kai will be ahead of Lennon, but will be behind Harry by 2-3 seconds. And Harry going onto the mediums. He is going for the 2-stop, so he can push more on these tires. And Lennon's going onto the mediums as well. He is going for a 2-stop as well, so seeing some different strategies at the moment. Because I assume everyone who's pitted onto the hards just now is going to try and make it to the end. And we now have got ourselves a Red Bull 1-2. Mahmoudev leading the way ahead of Arbon. And then it's Arbon in P3 ahead of Jesus in the Williams, who started on the hards. Frobby in P5 and then Twisteri on the hards as well. Arbon into the pit lane going on to lap 11. He said he wanted to make it to lap 12 before the race, so he could safely pull off a 1-stop. But he's going to have to pull into the pit lane 1 lap earlier. So he's going to have to do some tire managing in the second stint, but he will be going for the 1-stop. Panda and Nexus both pulling into the pit lane as well in the Alpine and the Kicksauber. Shark and Alpha Eyeball way ahead of Arbon. And look how much Shark has lost on his outlap. What has happened to the Mercedes? He was right behind Alpha Eyeball on pit exit, but now the gap is almost 3 seconds to the Alpine, and he's losing even more time right now, so he is definitely struggling on these stars, at least on their first laps out on track. So Alpha Eyeball right now in some clean air and not under pressure anymore from a Mercedes. which is the ideal scenario for our championship leader. Looking to add another 26 points to his tally. And with Harry going for the 2-stop, he could be extending his lead quite significantly after tonight. Albon into the pit lane. Mahmudev staying out for another lap, going into lap 13. He has taken these mediums quite a long way, but surely he's going to be in puncture territory at this rate. Jesus and Twusteri, both on the hards. Albon and Frobby into the pit lane. So Alpha Albon now back inside the top 5. As Harry set the fastest lap of this race. He's on the mediums, 24.6, and he's chasing Shark right now. The gap's 1.2. Going on to lap 13. Then Kai and Albon close behind. Dark Assassin and Lennons in this train as well. Wardy trying to close to under 1 second to put himself in that fight for what will be P5. But of course Mahmudev still has to pull into the pit lane, and he will be dropping behind to the ones that have undercutted him, so he should be he might be joining Albon in that train, because he was 2.5 seconds ahead of his teammate before he pulled into the pit lane. Now with the undercut he should be dropping behind a little bit. Although the pace doesn't seem too bad for Mahmudev, but he is going to pull into the pit lane at the end of lap 13. He has taken his mediums a long way without getting himself a puncture. But let's see where he is going to come out compared to his rivals. Alpha Highball for sure will overtake the Red Bull. Shark should as well, who is now under pressure from Harry, who picked up another 3-second time penalty there going to the final corner. Cutting the inside too much and already on 6 seconds, but he's going to go for the move and retake what will be second place after everyone else pitted. And Harry is back ahead of the Mercedes. Mahmudev is going to come out ahead of this train. So Mahmudev in a very handy position at the moment, still in P4, and hasn't really lost anything with the undercuts as he comes out ahead of Kai and Albon. Wardy now within DRS range. So it's a train of 6 cars right now behind Mahmudev. Well, 5 behind Mahmudev, 6 including him. And the gap is 4 seconds towards Shark, but look how close Kai is to the back of the Red Bull. His tires have warmed up quite nicely now, so he will have the slight pace advantage, as it does take a few laps to get any speed into those hards. Going on to lap 15, it's Michael going into the pit lane as well. He has taken his hards, his mediums, 14 laps, which is really impressive. So he will be safe on his 1-stop. But he will be coming out down in P16, I think, only ahead of Nexus. Look at the understeer there in the dirty air of the Red Bull, and look at the time penalty for Kai in doing so. He understeered wide through turn 4 and then overcompensated himself through turn 5 and got the inside too much, and it's a 3-second time penalty for the Mercedes. Jesus and Twusteri still marching on. They are going to have to do a few more laps on the hards to be able to maximize the 1-stop, or in their second stint on the mediums. As Alpha Highball now finds himself with a 5-second lead over Harry, who's got a 6-second time penalty. And Shark dropping behind 2 seconds. Then it's Mahmudev with that massive train behind him, all the way towards Wardy in P11. Then Aaron down in P12. A little bit disappointing because he was in such a good position earlier on in the opening few laps, but he has just dropped off ever since. And now finds himself in what will be P10 at best, but he's also under pressure from Froby and Panda in the McLaren and the Alpine right behind him. How many more laps can Jesus and Tuasteri do on these tires? There's 13 laps remaining. You could potentially make it to the end with 13 laps on the mediums, but you won't be able to push as much as you would like in a final stint. So they're gonna have to do a few more laps in order to get their strategy right. Alpha Highball, he is closing in rapidly. 3 seconds is the gap between himself and Tuasteri, and Harry's already dropping off towards Alpha Highball. The gap's now 6 seconds going on to lap 17. Meanwhile, Kai has dropped behind Mahmudev, and this might allow Arbon to have a go potentially, not on this lap though, maybe on the next one. Mahmudev is also closing the gap towards Shark. That is now 1.6. For the final spot on the podium, as Nexus has retired in pit lane. It is not going to be a top 6 for him, as here comes our second retirement. And no points for the Kicksauber. Up ahead, Shark running a little bit wide on entry, taking a different approach to turn 6. But Mahmudev, he is closing. The gap is now around 1 second. And so is the gap towards Kai behind. So he's in a Mercedes sandwich. But he will be closer to Shark than Kai is to him. It's Mercedes, Red Bull, Mercedes and Red Bull. But if Kai drops out of the DRS range, it could open the door for Arbon to find a way past, as Jesus pulls into the pit lane, going on to lap 18, and so does Tuasteri. So they will have to do 12 laps on those tires. Let's see where they're going to come out as well. Is Mahmudev going to be able to go for the move? Yes, he is. Pulls it inside of the Mercedes, and Mahmudev is up into P3. Whilst his teammate tries to find a way past Kai as well into turn 1. But the Mercedes holds it around the outside and will stay in P5 for now. But Mahmudev back in a podium position. Jesus comes out in P12, Tuasteri in P15, running off track there, following his teammate. Lennon's on his second stop, coming out in P16, way behind the field, 15 seconds behind. That is just how much you lose with making a second pit stop. Which is what Harry is going to be doing as well. He will drop behind the entire field once he makes that pit stop. He's going to have to do a lot of catching up. And the gap is 7.5 seconds though towards Alpha Highball, who is running in a very comfortable position to take his third win of the season. Went into the season without any wins, but he has been on a roll for the past few races. Our soon-to-be Tier 3 World Champion, dare I say. Harry now into the pit lane with 11 laps to go. He is going to have to go onto the hard, so he should be able to make it just fine towards the end, but yeah, down in P16 and P15. He's going to have to hope that the tires are going to drop off rapidly towards the end for everyone else ahead of him. As Lennon pulls into the pit lane again, and no surprise seeing him being our third retirement. So unfortunately, luck isn't on his side either in Qatar. And yet another pointless race for the McLaren. Now the gap is 10 seconds between Alpha Hypel and Mahmoudev. And Mahmoudev is in quite a good position, because he has not got himself a 3-second time penalty. And Kai behind him, who picks up another penalty and probably another warning by cutting the track too much again. And Shark both got a penalty. So in theory, Arbon is running in a P3 position right now, and on course to get his first podium of the season. Closing the gap towards Kai, but he's got the DRS to his teammate, so he won't be able to get past. So Arbon in a good position right now, but Wardy behind, also without a penalty. Frobby as well, and Jesus, you'll always have to keep him in mind in the fight for podium, as Arbon sends one up the inside of Kai in towards turn 6, but Kai now has the inside line for the next corner. So Arbon tries to go the long way around the outside, hooks wheels a little bit there with the Mercedes, and that allows Dark Assassin to go up the inside in towards turn 7 and 8, and the Ferrari is ahead of the Red Bull into the braking zone. Right behind Wardy, also trying to have a go. But Arbon trying to find a way past, and in doing so, losing a position to the Ferrari driver. Arbon has got one podium so far this season in Tier 3, which was at the Chinese Grand Prix, which is the only race I missed this season, whilst the Dark Assassin pulls into the pit lane. So it could be a second one. He's also driving in Tier 2, but he's had not much luck there so far. Meanwhile, Shark now puts 1.4 seconds between himself and his teammate, which will make Kai vulnerable as well. Although, by the way that Kai is slowing down a little bit here, he could be trying to help his teammate out for that podium, whilst Wardy is desperately trying to find a way past Arbon, but unable to do so. Mahmoudev has closed in 1 second towards Alpha Hypel, but with only 9 laps to go, he is going to have to repeat that 9 more times in order to catch the Alpine. But Mahmoudev, he is looking quite rapid right now, and will be hungry for his second consecutive win. Arbon really close to the Mercedes this time, and he's gonna have the DRS and the ERS, but he's just not closing in at all. Down the start-finish straight now, he's gonna pull to the inside in towards turn 1. Is there anything Kai can do to defend? He's gonna hold his way around the outside, and still Kai is able to maintain position, as looks like Michael has gone off in the final corner and has sat stationary in the gravel trap, and has rejoined in P15. Shark, who's got a 3-second time penalty, he's gonna hope that his teammate is gonna hold up those drivers behind him, so that he could safely have his 3-second time penalty and still finish on the podium. So the gap is around 2 seconds now towards Arbon. Jesus, in his pursuit of Arbon, is now within 3/10 of a second. But looks like Arbon is going to get the DRS of the V-car up ahead. As Arbon will once again have a go at the Mercedes, but still just doesn't have the straight line speed to fully close that gap. And will stay in P5 as 365 to Emma. Look at the train now behind Kai. It's all the way down to Panda in P11. So 8 cars, including Kai himself. Welcome Barney to the stream. Our promoted tier 3 driver towards tier 2 after winning in Silverstone. Panda making his first appearance in tier 3, and it's not looking too bad for him. He's currently in a points paying position, and at the back of this train that goes all the way up to P4. He does, however, have a 6-second time penalty, so he's not going to be able to get any higher than this, as Michael becomes our 4th retirement as the house driver. Had an off earlier on, and he's retired now as well. Mahmudev not really closing the gap towards Alpha High Wall anymore. It's 8.5. Going on to lap 24-29, so 6 laps to go. As Kai has got Harbour for company, now he is closer than he's ever been before in this race. He's once again going to pull to the inside of the track, with Kai is going to do the exact same thing and hold his way around the outside. And now he's going to have the inside line for the next turn, and there's just nothing Arbon can do. Now potentially go for the switch back on the Mercedes, but in towards turn 4 and 5, really not the place you want to overtake. And once again the Red Bull has to stay behind. In the background, Frobby and Toursteri fighting it out for P9 and 10, with Panda close behind as well in the Alpine. As we go wheel to wheel up ahead, Jesus up the inside of Arbon in towards turn 6, and the Williams drivers up to P7. But he has to be mindful of his tires though, because he is going to have to lose 5 more laps after this. And he will be struggling towards the end. Full second gained for Mahmudev on the previous lap. But still, I think the gap is just a little bit too big in order to really gain and have a real go at the lead of this race. Looks like Shark will be quite safe, and look how close Arbon is this time. For sure he's going to be able to get past now with the help of DRS Slipstream. Pulls to the inside, and will he be fully ahead going in towards turn 1? Sure looks like, but Kai is going to have a go, but this time he cannot go around the outside, and finally Arbon finds a way past. And he has put his Red Bull into P4 and can try and set his sights on Shark ahead for that final spot on the podium. But Kai still behind, but it looks like he is struggling with tyre wear. He has pitted 2 laps earlier, he goes way too deep there in towards turn 6. And now Wardy is right at the back of the Mercedes, and the gap towards Arbon has grown to 8 tenths. And Arbon is rapidly closing in on the Mercedes. It could be a dream scenario for the Red Bull team, looking for a potential double podium at Qatar. As Wardy now picks up a penalty as well, which is great news for Jesus and Frobby and Toursteri, because they will all gain another place without having to overtake them on track. 6.9 seconds, 4 laps to go. Alpha Hype Wall and Mahmudev. Shark in P3, but Arbon is within DRS range and will be closing that gap. Then it's Kai in P5, but Wardy will be closing in, and the RB is going to go to the inside of the Mercedes, who cannot put up much of a defense going into turn 1. And the former teammates swap positions. As in the background going off, it is Arbon and Frobby into the wall on the exit of turn 1. The McLaren and the Aston Martin collide, and they both drop all the way down the orders. The McLaren goes into the gravel going in towards turns 2 and 3. As not sure what happened on the exit of turn 1. As once again the Aston Martin goes around into the wall and front wing damage for Aaron. His race has got from bad to worse. And he has slowly dropped out of the points in P14. High drama at the back end of the top 10. And wishes allowed Panda into P9 on his debut in Tier 3. But Harry, who has got 7 lap tire advantage, is going to be closing in. The gap is 4 seconds right now. And Panda, he's got 6 seconds extra penalties. As we go on to the start-finish straight for lap 27 or 29, 3 laps to go. Arbon 5/10 behind. Won't be close enough to go for the move. Wardy closing in. Kai holding on as Jesus and Twisteri fighting it out. Both drivers on the mediums. Jesus though has the inside line for turn 2. Now Twisteri is going to try and go for the switchback on the exit. But doesn't quite get the traction right. And Jesus remains in 7th place. As Wardy now puts himself in the fight for the final spot on the podium, but with his 3-second time penalty, he is going to have to hope that Arbon picks up a penalty as well in those final 2 laps. Which wouldn't be a first thing. Would it be a first for Arbon around Qatar? I'm sure he will remember that one. Where it was on for a podium, I think in Tier 1 a couple of seasons ago. What's happened to Jesus? Dropped down to P9 as Panda has found a way past. As the Williams seems to be struggling on these 9 lap old mediums. Well, onto the penultimate lap of this race. Mahmoudov now 5.7 behind as Arbon is looking to find a way past Shark as he goes to the inside of the Mercedes on the start finish straight. And the Red Bull makes it a 2-3 as we go on to lap 28 of 29. Arbon up to P3. And now Wardy is going to try and replicate that. Going up the inside in towards turn 2. Not quite the space there. As he almost made contact with the Mercedes. Looking to get past immediately. But unable to do so as the Mercedes driver shows him the door. And gets the elbows out. Jesus back ahead of Panda. And back up to P8. Both Shark and Wardy with a 3-second time penalty. So it's a genuine fight for P4. Look how quickly Arbon's able to build a gap. As it's 1.4 already towards the Mercedes. Alpha Hype Wall leads the way onto the final lap of this race. Just has to bring it home. He's got 5 seconds over Mahmoudov. Neither of them have got a 3-second time penalty. But at this stage it doesn't matter. He only has to keep his tires alive on this final lap. And he can call himself a 3-time race winner in Revolution. And Wardy then, can he find a way past Shark? Shark cannot defend. And Wardy goes to the inside. And he's up into P4. In the meantime, Swoosh finds a way past Sky. And he's now up at the P6. Sky on 19 a lap old hards. I'm surprised he still hasn't got on the puncture. But he is still holding on to that 7th place. Twisteri might be on for P4. As without a track limit penalty, should be able to get Shark and Wardy. Would be a great result from the man who started down in P15. But we switch our focus to this man as Aaron gets the fastest lap of the race. But he won't get a point for that. Alpha Hype Wall is going to go towards the final corner. He got his first race win of the season earlier on, but this time he's going to get his third win of the season. Alpha Hypewall wins the Qatar Grand Prix, and what a dominant display from our championship leader, who will be extending once again going into the final 4 races. Yet another podium finish and a strong result from Mahmoudev in the Red Bull, and Arbon is going to hold on for what will be his second podium of the season, and he is delighted with that. A great result for him and the Red Bull team. Toasteri from P15 all the way up into P4 with a really strong comeback. Wardy in P5, Jesus will finish in P6, 1/10 of a second away from the V Cup, with Shark in 7th place. Then it's Froby in P8. Kai, due to his penalties, drops down to P9, just ahead of Harry in P10. And him in P10, whilst his championship rival has won this race, he is going to lose a lot of points in the championship. Panda, on his debut in Tier 3, finishes inside the points in P11, and Dark Assassin is going to get that final point with his 2-stop strategy. Blitz Hyper in P13, and we wait for Aaron to cross the line, although he spun out of the final corner and hit the wall again, picking up some more front wing damage, and he will finish in P14 though with the fastest lap. But impressive race once more from Alpha Hypewall, showing why he is our championship leader and why he is the favorite to win the championship this season. Really strong performance. And with 4 races to go, he is putting one hand on that championship trophy, and maybe could he wrap it up. Next race in Hungary, we'll find out soon. But the truth is, he is unbeatable so far this season. Alpha Hypewall wins here in Qatar. Joining him on the podium, the 2 Red Bull boys. Alpha Hypewall, or Arbon, has been given the cleanest driver, whilst the Toasteri driver of the day by the game. But here are the final results. 14 finishers in the end, and 4 retirements, which were Michael Lennon's, Nexus and Balaboton. Alpha Hypewall also doing good deeds in the Constructors' Championship, because Alpine will be closing in on Sauber. So the fight in the Drivers' Championship might look over, but it certainly isn't for the Constructors' Championship, as the battle heats up between Sauber, Alpine and Haas. Either way, it has once again been a very enjoyable race to watch, and I'm looking forward to what the rest of this season has got in store for us. 4 races remain, which are the Hungarian Grand Prix next week, the Japanese Grand Prix, a mystery race, so we will not know which track it's going to be until we are in the lobby, which also has a sprint race, and the season finale will be held at Zandvoort for the Dutch Grand Prix. But that's it from me tonight. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you guys next week at the same time for the Hungarian Grand Prix for round 12 of the season. See you all next time. Enjoy your evening.